It's raining. The door is open, and there's traffic right behind my house, apartment, whatever I live in. If that's too loud in the background, let me know. And I can change it. Oh boy, and I can hear myself echoing. Why can I hear myself echoing? YouTube, of course. It's always YouTube. Good time of day. Oh, that's too low. Come back here, volume control. We need some music. We need sweet beats to chill and RPG to. Let me know if that's a good volume for the music. I hear neither rain nor traffic. All right, that's good. Turn that down just a little bit. That part's a little louder. There we go. Levitating Nun, I legitimately laughed at you're acting like you've never seen two tiny people praying to a dog on a sentient sofa before. How you doing, Jimate? I am pretty good. I have a I'm gonna do a new thing for it, but right here in the finals folder labeled test full 1 is behind schedule on Blood Rain. I watched it and I made a few changes, and I haven't rendered the new one yet. And Lampy is in here. Hi, Lampy. Also, hi, Honey Money. Hi, Deebs. Hi, Stick Shift. Hi again, Jimate. Hi again, Levitating Nun. I did a thing. I had to learn how to do some text tracking. Test full 1, yeah. It's the frog in that picture that really confuses me. Wait, is there a frog? This is more important. Oh, that's right. There is a frog. I totally forgot. You get so lost into everything else. It's easy to forget there's a frog there on top of the couch. It's one of those, the more you see, the more you look at it, the more you see. I definitely, after doing this one, it's like 14-15 minutes long. I think I have an idea for how I want to change the structure for Gothic in that video. But yeah, I did do a thing that I did not even ask you for, Lampy. I wanted to figure it out without having to bother you. I have a gag where I needed text to show up, and I needed to track it because it's on a handheld shot. I need it to look like it's on a thing. Specifically the numbers on a scale. So I looked at like 4 different videos on how to do that in Resolve and found one that worked, because all the other ones did, like, whenever I tried it, it did something and it didn't work. And it never went over, like, what if this issue happens? They just never had that issue. And so I'd find another video and then do another thing. It was just the, oh gosh, was it the point? The planar one was what I tried to use first. I think 2 videos used planar tracking, and it gave me the same. One time it gave me a straight up error, and then another time it wouldn't track the thing that I told it to, and I was like, I did everything they asked and it's not tracking. It's like going in a wild direction. And so I found another video and that one didn't work, and I don't remember why. And that used a separate method that was like way more complicated. And then the other one used it. I don't think it was planar tracking. I think it was a different tracking. And that one worked. But it also had to do like one little thing that was different. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it. I think it looked okay. I'm gonna show it off. Hang on. No, I'll just let you see it in the video. Never mind. Tracking is a fickle beast. But yeah, so I did that, so I'm pretty proud of myself. That has nothing to do with RPGs, though. Is the frog smoking? Wait, is the frog smoking? I gotta look at this now. No, that's just the cloud. Oh, wait, is it smoking? I think that's a crease on the couch. Wow, I'm not convinced. Looking at something else here, it's the frog smoking. Yeah, I think it's a light reflection on the couch. I think, but I'm not actually sure. It could be frog is smoking. That picture is wild. Who knows? Yeah, my thought is reflection, but I'm not convinced. With everything else that's happening in that picture, it wouldn't be a shock to be like, nah, that frog's supposed to be smoking. But it has like the whole cigarette in its mouth or whatever it's smoking in its mouth, because it doesn't have like a thing, it's just smoke. The fact that the frog legit could be smoking shows how awesome that art is. Thank Astral Marmot. That's her name on the Discord for that incredible picture. She's the one that brought that up. We share Pixabay art with each other sometimes. We haven't done that in a while. I need to do that. What? Jamate resubscribed for 1 month. Boom! Welcome to your first resubscribed month. Oh, just kidding. It says at 3 months. It's tier 1 at 3 months. I can't read. That's your freaking 3rd month. Thanks, Jamate. You say an amazing message here. It says, we wow. That's beautiful. It's truly beautiful. It's almost as beautiful as those little otter aliens in Wing Commander last night. Anytime, brother. You say that, but I bet it's only going to be like once a month. Prove me wrong. Glad I pulled this cup out of the dishwasher that just finished, so the cup was hot, and then I put cold water in it from the fridge filter, and it was this weird mix of like warm to the all right. I have been proven wrong. I have been proven wrong. Thank you, Jamate. Jamate giving out 5 gift subs. You're the best. Thank you. I bet Jamate wouldn't do 20 times a month. Lampy, I think you're the only one who's hit that number. Or are you just trying to test him? You're like, nah, I can milk 15 more out of Jamate. Let me tell him 20. Thank you, Jamate. I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll test you again next month. Poxon. Is Poxon also up to 20 in a month? I know Poxon's done more than 20 total. Both of you have. I don't know if he's done 20 in a month. He might have. He might have. Poxon brings the gift subs too. Oh, this beat slowed down significantly. All right. You're a delight. Absolute delight. We should probably talk about combat. This isn't going to be like a slideshow. I'm just going to have stuff. Let me zoom in so it's bigger for you all. How does that look? That clearer? Let's do a little smaller. There we go. So that was one thing that came up when I was at the con, was several people brought up combat. And I thought that would be a good topic to talk about. What's up, Owen? Yeah, combat. Mortal, or really any other kind. Several people brought it up in a few different capacities, and it's something that I really think is a big make or break kind of, not make or break, that's not the right term, but like it is a thing that can definitely escalate and add a lot of tension and fun, or it can absolutely just be a slog you got to get through. And it's never fun when it's a slog you got to get through. So I want to talk about ways to make it more fun. I also know I'm not the only person that plays RPGs in here. Both players and GMs. So like your thoughts on ways that you've, as a player or a GM, made combat more fun, or it was more fun for you. Absolutely want to see that. Can I play a combat wombat in a bomb hat? Oh man. In any game I run, you can, Crawdad. Also, hey Crawdad. How are you doing? Oh, it's Nick the OG. Or Nicketh Eog 1. Or in dyslexia, it looks like ego. And I have to remember it's not ego. I'm pretty sure you got it right the first time. I don't have a ton on making combat more interesting aside from describing how things happen in more detail, other than does a 17 hit? Yep, okay, rolls dice, 8 damage. That's a great point that we will get into the thematics. That is absolutely a topic to bring in. It's raining here. It's raining here too. The rain doesn't care about state lines. It'll rain in both of our places. Also, the cherry blossoms are starting to bloom here, and there's one tree behind us, so I'm looking right at it. That's where my eyes are going. It's really nice. Probably gonna go into DC to check out all the cherry blossoms there. The Marvel villain? Is there a Marvel villain named Combat? Also, hey Discordia. We're gonna talk about combat, and you play RPGs, so your thoughts are very welcome. I mean, everybody's are, but I know you, I don't know, generally have a lot of good things to say. Oh, there's one called Ego. Today I learned, and later today I will forget. They are really nice. Oh, is that his name? Oh. I've forgotten most of that movie. I remember I watched it. That's about it. All right. I think one of the biggest things that you can do for combat. Oh, that was one thing. Some systems do it differently. I know, like, what is the vibe you're going for in combat? Ooh, that's a good... Let's actually start there. That's a great point. What's the vibe? And I think that's a good one because it can change. Also, hi Doc. It can change based on like the fight itself. Like other factors bring into it. If it's, you know, a drunken brawl because someone insulted someone else at the bar and you're throwing down, it's fairly lighthearted. Like, could be kind of goofy. People are gonna get banged up, but you're probably not as worried about like someone's gonna die in it. So it's way, you could just have like, oh, okay, it's more fun, it's more going, you know, that's cool. Versus in the same campaign, couple games later, you've fallen for a trap, you're underground a few miles, you're trying to fight your way up to the surface, you know, that's going to be way more tense. The vibe's going to change a lot for that. So taking into account what the vibe is can help as its own thing, but I'm putting that up top because it is going to affect pretty much everything else I have listed to go into, like thematics, impact, strategy, all of that, emotional stakes, all of that's going to change based on the vibe and kind of what you're going for with that. If you give me a vibe, I can figure out mechanics, but the vibe is what you have to start with, because if you want to be brutal, tactical, or fun, each of these need to be different systems shine. Yeah. Combat can be super duper based on what system. WFRP, I don't know that one, is realistic system. Exalted is over the top cool shit system. Feng Shui is Jackie Chan movie in dice format. Oh, I need to write down Feng Shui, because that's the sound of that sounds like what I want to play. Fun, exciting, they will want to do it, or intimidating, they might want to be avoided, right? Don't kill my vibe. Hey, Electable Louise, how you doing? You ready to talk about combat, or listen to combat, I guess? I can talk about combat if you have something to say. Oh, Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing, yeah. I haven't played that, but I have heard it's pretty crunchy. I mean, it's based on, like, you know, the Warhammer IP, so I would assume that it would be pretty intense for what that is, because, you know, that's a miniature game. A lot of stuff is pretty important. Systems make a lot of difference. Combat 5e become a system mastery thing, or something like Lexicon, pew pew, shout out, can have many more unexpected movements. Players vibe with it. Absolutely. Don't get too deep, we gotta let my dog out. Make sure these martial arts setting, get extra points for using like lobster and a tank as nunchucks. That's freaking great. Finish experiment for uni. Get chill with you guys. Yay! I'm doing good. I get to talk about combat, so that's pretty sweet. Cool. The system is also important, kind of what Crawdad was saying, and also what Nick is saying about Feng Shui. I don't know how to pronounce that. I mean, the vibe can change, you know, You could have tense fights in 5e or loose foot. Are you gonna try and tell me how to say that word? Or those two words?
Yeah.
Huh?
Just feng shui.
Is it feng shui?
Yeah.
I thought it was feng shui, and then I was like, no, I'm definitely reading that wrong.
I mean, that's probably not actually the way you would pronounce it in Chinese. That's how, like, generally speaking.
Okay.
Let's say it in English.
It's feng shui. It's been so long since I've seen that word written. I was like, no, I'm just assuming it's that word because I'm familiar with the phrase feng shui. But all right, cool. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay sounds like the type of system where you have to pay Games Workshop $5 before each dice roll. You have to have a different dice for each type of roll. They're like units. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It's not like that. But I don't know what it's like because I haven't played it. Except I think death is fairly common. Maybe. Feng shui like room decorating. Yeah. Okay, so playing off the system and like playing to the strengths of the system or things that you know you don't like about the system and how to avoid them. I find things like Pathfinder and D&D to be too HP spongy with enemies for the majority of fights, where it just takes so long to kill something because they've got so much HP, or that in lower levels the dice are so swingy that you can end up going a full round without ever getting a hit on an enemy because everybody rolled below 12, so no one hits. So it's like, okay, well, keep going. So I think some of that can be, okay, how can you change that? Everybody's missing. All right, what can you do to kind of make it more exciting? If you're playing that system, know how to do that. If you're playing something like, someone mentioned that Fate, they were getting kind of bored with the combat in Fate, which I do agree. It's kind of one of the weaknesses of the system. I like Fate, but combat can get kind of stale. So, things to mess around with the system. What we're going to discuss next as soon as I catch up on chat. Dresden Files RPU is more effective. Keep stacking aspects of the scene. That's one of the things that Fate has going for it. Those, like, I think they are called aspects. And yeah, having those build, which is totally one of my notes. With Fate, it's built in. You can add it to other systems too. Whatever you're playing can incorporate it. But it's things in the environment or the play that is directly affecting combat in, positive or negative way for the person doing it or thing doing it if you have a monster. Go with Darkest Dungeon, XCOM approach, keep HP low. Yeah, so with another method is so like this is a whole separate thing. There we go. So I mentioned this at the con where something like Savage Worlds, you have enemies that are minions. Basically, any enemy that does not have a name that you gave it is a minion. And if it gets hit, it will die. There are ways to counter this. So, like, if the GM spends a Benny to soak a wound, then the minion doesn't die. But generally, the minions have 1 health. It also works well in Savage Worlds because in that system, basically any enemy, any creature can kill another creature or do severe damage to another creature. The like extreme difference between a level 1 Pathfinder character and a level 15 Pathfinder character is the level 1 is never going to hit the level 15, and if they do hit by some miracle like a nat 20 or something, they will do a embarrassingly low amount of damage compared to the HP that the level 15 character has, not even accounting like weapons or like magic armor and abilities that the level 15 character has. Whereas in Savage Worlds, if you get stabbed in the neck, it matters how much technique the person stabbing you in the neck has. To it could be worse, but like you still got stabbed in the neck. That's bad. You're gonna take a severe hit for that. Or you might have to spend some serious bennies to not die. So they have a good mix of, you know, they could also have a lot of enemies, and since they're getting knocked out quickly, it doesn't become just this huge pool of HP you have to deal with. Because if you can take out 5 enemies in a round, if you could hit 5 enemies in a round, just took out 5 enemies. That's really good. Storyteller system is good for that. GM can award bonuses based on how cool the player described their action. Thematics. Yeah, God, I love storyteller system. It's really good. Buddies in the Power Rangers. Yes, that's a good example. I don't know how I couldn't bloody hit someone until I stacked up multiple aspects. Yeah, that's... I feel like if you... Unless it's like a big thematic fight. Like, alright, well, I don't have like a set order to say these in. Why is this kicking things down so low? But okay. Like, building up those aspects can feel boring mechanically, but they can really help out if you have emotional stakes, like, and thematic stakes. I'm just gonna do "and" in parentheses because why not? So like, what are you actually doing to get those? Okay, that's so I can do that. Okay, to actually get those bonuses, like how are you affecting the thing? Because it's cool to have an enemy that you initially can't hurt and you have to like do something to remove. Like I had an enemy in that Magical Girl anime campaign where it was like this giant armored turtle thing, and it was stomping around and just basic attacks would do nothing. It was too heavily armored. So they were like, well, how do we get to it? And they had to like start prying away at the armor, finding a weak spot, finding where, you know, plates connected and trying to pry it open, which did work. And then the like gooey misty creature that was actually running the armor like shot out of it. So having, actually that's just, we're just gonna do that. Having the thematic, oh boy, having the thematic stakes of like, what are you actually doing with the fight? How are you affecting it? And that works for both when you're doing aspects and just in general. It's totally not fun when you go, kind of what Deebs was saying, like, I roll 17 hit, yes, 8 damage, cool, its turn, it rolls, it hits, it attack, your turn, you roll, you hit, you attack, it take damage, it turn, it roll, it hit, it like, that's what's changing. Like, you do that for 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, that's a slog. Like you're not, there's nothing dynamic about that. Nothing is changing. Nothing is fun. You are chipping away at something with no evidence that you're doing anything. So a huge thing is showing the impact. I guess that's just a different point. Showing the impact of your actions in a fight. Like you hit something and you damage its arm that it's using a weapon with. Okay, now what's it gonna do? Is it gonna keep swinging and now it's at a disadvantage on its attacks? Maybe not literally the mechanic of disadvantage, but like, how is your attack going to affect it? Does it throw down its shield that was holding its other hand and is now two-handing that weapon? So maybe now, okay, its defense is now lower. You made it easier to hit, but now it's going to hit you harder. Does it run away? Does it try to do something to affect something else? Having it go, we were talking about at the panel, like having environmental effects for combat to change things up, or tactical advantages. So having this thing that's like, oh, I'm wounded, I've been hit on the arm, I can't effectively use my sword anymore, shoot. All right, it flees from the person who was fighting. Cool. What does it do? Can it go in, example, turn off the lights? Now it's super dark in there, and all the people it's with don't have a disadvantage. They have dark vision, they have different sensory input, whatever, to fighting in the dark. That thing that's injured and ran away is now going to sway combat in favor of the people it's with. And then that can change everything. Now, all right, do you fight in the dark or do you try to turn the light on? Can it go and, okay, it's injured, cool, it's gonna go around and do another thing. It can go and heal up an opponent, or I guess its friend, your opponent. It can go do another action that helps someone else that it doesn't have to directly fight to. And now seeing that, or just seeing it run away, the people might go, ooh, I'm going to chase it. Or, oh, it's injured, cool, we solved that problem, I'm going to go to something else, maybe not knowing that it's going to do something to affect combat in a big way. All right, I gotta catch up on chat because I went off on that tangent. Think of them like Joker's henchmen, or all the nameless Cobra soldiers between the Joes and Cobra Commander. Yeah. I stab him, gets no bonus, but I jump off the balcony, flip over him, and stab him in the back, could get a bonus. That's a huge thing I like doing, is thematic bonuses. Although I usually play systems that offer thematic bonuses, like, you know, like Pathfinder is mechanics. You swing, you have this much, you do the thing. If you have a bonus and it's thematic, it's also mechanical. So like, I have a better chance to hit if I am one-handing a weapon and grappling the enemy with my other hand. Cool, that's what I'm doing, but that's still mechanical because I have the feats to do that. So yeah, the thematic stakes, we'll just count it in there, can absolutely matter. I prefer systems that have that baked in to it, but I pretty much use it in any system I run, and that's how I try to roleplay a character. Even if the system I'm playing in doesn't have that, I'm like, all right, here's what I want to do because that makes it more interesting to me. Let's see. Also, use determined success matters. Using different die changes odds. Use something like cards. Oh man, yes. Savage Worlds deals with cards for initiative, and I think it's Deadlands, you're dealing with cards and like you're making like poker hands on top of using dice as well. It's really fun. And then there's things like Dread and Starcross that I mentioned before that use a Jenga tower instead of dice, because you know eventually things are it's going to fall apart on you. You just don't know when, and you gotta keep pressing your luck. One of the people that I talked to after the panel talked about wanting to do something like with a dartboard and having like either where you aim and how close or far you are to that, or having things on the dartboard and trying to hit them, like you try to hit, like there's a silhouette of a person and you're trying to hit them in the head, and like how close or far you get or where you hit them. Stuff like that is super cool. I love dice alternatives. I love dice too, but like adding that extra element or that weird element can be really fun. I feel like the system does have to be built around it. If you just tack that onto Pathfinder, this is probably not going to work well. But like having something built around that's super cool. If a character acts against their motivation, getting a buff or a debuff, yeah, totally play into the thematics of that. Facing a more powerful foe with potential to end the world on the line, where your group can screw up, cause situation had me stressed as heck. Yeah, big emotional stakes there, Discordia. That is big. Like, you want to be able to affect it. Multi-stage fights. Oh, Nick, you're getting into another point I've got. Get them to certain thresholds or attack specific point changes. What if you take an arrow to the knee? Then you become a guard? The problem with this is best laid plans of any GM will only work until players get a hold of them. Run so many campaigns where you play a lot. It goes the whole 10 minutes. It's gotta be, you gotta have fluidity in your plans. I feel like I am a huge advocate for, like, the GM should have plans. I don't think a GM should go in, or at least I don't go into it with expectations of we're gonna improv everything. You lose a lot of the cool foreshadowing and being able to make an idea better. If you take an idea from a session and improv it to make something cool, that's awesome. But then if that's all you do, then you never have the here's a cool idea already. Help with the improv of how the session is going to build on that idea. And now you have something that went from cool to good, that went from good to great because you incorporated that. So I think your best laid plans are good to have, but they should be built with fluidity in mind. Sometimes also you gotta scrap some stuff. That happens, but that happens in all creative media. Like, I write a idea down for a story, and then when I write the story, I'm like, well, this part of it that I thought was cool isn't gonna fit anymore because of these other things that work, and that's okay. That's how stuff works. That's how stuff changes. That's how you grow. And then you bank it to use again at another time. One thing I've done in the past, but haven't done a ton of opportunity, because players take advantages, is change the AC value and damage die and add bonuses if they attack in a specific way. Absolutely. I totally agree with that, Deeps. Kind of like you mentioned, if you try to stab someone in the neck, it would be harder to target, but it is more devastating. I feel like that's hard to do. If you try and do it with like specific systems that don't have that in mind, you tend to break them in good ways and bad ways. So I like it when like targeting is a part of a system or plays into like the thematics, kind of like we're talking about with storyteller system or something with lexicon, where it's like, if you specifically do it a certain way, you're going to have an advantage on it. And then thematically, it plays into the mechanics of you hit harder or you have an easier time hitting. And it got worse for nothing in fights. It's never going right for me, despite a brilliant plan. Yep. Hey, how you doing, Rachel? I just got to your messages. Everybody say hi to Rachel. Rachel's great. That's Grace of Athena. Yeah, I have a theater degree. So generally speaking, I can improv fairly well. And can never keep up with players thwarting the plot I wrote. It's a skill. It's a skill you gotta like develop and learn and change. Like it's a skill, just like improv is a skill, just like storytelling is a skill. Just like writing is a skill. It plays into all of those, but it is also its own skill. Hearing Jesse wax about role playing is making me want to run again. Oh, Yes. Do it, you mate. Games are great. Well, yeah, but writing a story isn't a live session that might ruin several people's fun if you suck at it. About to start a new campaign. I'm a player, not a DM, but still excited. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, man. It's always fun when you can also be a player, so that's great. And this is about combat in general. A lot of it is GM focused because a lot of the stuff is dependent on the GM being creative and encouraging this kind of stuff and influencing it and rewarding it. But I mean, you can still add some of this to being a player. Definitely. I have caught a cold. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's a bummer. And yeah, Jamate runs games. The plan is to get Jamate on here as an actual, like, talky person. And we could talk about some topic. Because, yeah, Jamate's been running stuff. We've talked a little bit about RPGs in the off time. Yeah, the system doesn't really have that kind of specific targeting in mind. It tend to come up with more debuff type things rather than just, yep, you kill him. Yeah. Pretty sure it's cold. Well, I'm sorry it's a cold, but I'm also glad it's just a cold. I guess it could be worse. So that's good. But it's still a bummer, so I'm sorry. What do you think about the GM fudging numbers to keep the session fun? Oh, absolutely. Like, just stop that sentence as, how do you feel about the GM fudging numbers? And I go, I feel like the fun factor is more important than the hard rules. Also, for example, running Pathfinder, Rise of the Rune Lords, and I had a player fail a save and die outright in the third session. Yeah. You could definitely fudge that number. Oh boy. I don't want to I don't want to rag on anything specific. But like, I feel like Pathfinder at 3.5, because that's what it's built on. They're kind of made to fudge the dice. Like, you could just die, and that's sometimes not fun. So they're kind of made with, like, I feel like they're not as well made as they should be, because they're directly built on, we think people are going to house rule this, so what does it matter, is what it feels like. And I do not mean that like as a full insult, because they're solid systems and with a lot of talented people behind them. But like, yeah, they do have just you die, and like that seems counterintuitive to how they're built as a power fantasy. He's incorporated mechs. Ooh. Too bad, get good. Yeah, so I feel like fudging dice, if everybody, kind of what I said earlier, if everybody misses for a round and then you're on to round 2 of combat and no one's hit anything, fudge some dice. Like, you know, lower that HP a little bit, because they were supposed to already be halfway dead at this point. That's not a dice roll, but like lower that. You know, fudge a dice roll in the, oh no, nobody hit him. Oh, well, he swung and he crit failed and dropped his shield, and now he's easier to hit. He crit failed and stumbled, and now he's prone. It's easier to hit. Like, did you roll a crit fail? No. But thematically and like fun wise, cool. He got overconfident because everybody missed. So absolutely, if it works, fudging dice. If everybody hits it around and you need someone to survive around, okay, you could bump that HP a little bit. You can add something to the roll to make it like combine two effects you were going to do into one turn. We're going to do over 2 turns. Yeah, fudging. Sometimes you gotta fudge. Sometimes don't. Like, sometimes character dies in one hit or in one round because your players did an excellent job, like just rolling well. Reward them with, and the boss dies before they even unsheath their sword. That can feel, if there is proper thematic stakes and emotional stakes in the fight, rather than just it was a random battle, they died in one turn, then it's over. That's not really fun. But if there were emotional stakes and thematic stakes of like, oh yeah, we're gonna get this person, we prepped for this, we're gonna go into it, we worked as a team, and because of our awesome teamwork, we downed the enemy before they even got a chance to hit us. That can be cool. In that case, reward your players with, and the enemy dies. They didn't even get a hit. Cool. You didn't fudge the dice and it was over. Awesome. That also means you can take all the cool shit you had planned for that character, that enemy that they were going to fight, and you just, they don't even know it's there. They don't know what that person was going to do. You slap that onto a new enemy in the future with more HP, or more armor or whatever to make sure they survive this time. And then that's cool stuff that you had planned that you get to use later. So I feel like fudging works when it fits the fun. If it's fun to die in a turn, bam, let it happen. Don't fudge it, or do fudge it. The players did so well that you want this opponent to die in a turn. Fudge their HP, you know? So yes, make it more fun. Chat going. Chat go. Dang. Gotta catch up. Alright. It wasn't even combat. It was an enchanted scarf that choked him to death. That's pretty great. Also, enchanted scarves. What a great assassin's tool. I wanna make a assassin NPC that has a scarf shop. All right, bam, bam, catching up. Last time we played something like a boss, I managed to frustrate the hell out of GM by actually employing a plan. Nice. Silly sorcerer, you always take subtle spell in case of silence. It's a good thing to have as backup. It does take in the mechanics of choking. Things like choking, drowning, they tend to be so weird. Like the mechanics of it. FFF, fudge to fuel the fun. Or FTFTF. I like fudge to fuel the fun. Yeah. Preach. Fun serves the narrative, in my opinion. Yeah. Narratively, if it makes sense, swing it one way or the other. In 5e, drowning does not kick in until con mod +1 minutes. Oh my gosh. That means you could easily hold your breath for like, that means like an average adventurer can easily hold their breath like 1 to 2 minutes. Wow, that's absurd. What else were we talking about? All right, so we talked about running away. I feel like this is a thing that I like. Actually, let me write this differently. Something changes. I feel like every 2, maybe 3 rounds, something needs to change. Maybe every round. But like 3 max. Like, something has to make it more dynamic. If you're doing the same thing for 2 or 3 rounds, come on. Like, we gotta move on. We gotta add something new, because again, and depending on the system too, systems that are more thematic will be a little more forgiving with this, because okay, you're still, you know, attack every round, sure, but like they can be more dynamic because of the thematics involved. But generally I think every 2 to 3 rounds something needs to change. Some enemies die. Some enemies run away. New enemies are introduced. The tactic the person was changing, or sorry, the tactic the enemy was using changes. The tactic that the players are using is no longer effective because X, and they have to change something. Make it more dynamic. Add something that's gonna mix it up. Something like a layer action changing the battlefield. Yeah, that could work. So if you're fighting someone in a volcano, after 3 rounds, cool. 2 rounds, they're fighting, everybody feels a rumbling, and now some explosions of lava come out, and it's covering the parts of the floor in like small streams of lava. Now you don't have free room to run around. You've got to start jumping over these things. They're not like affecting you yet, as in the whole floor is lava, but oh, you just can't just move around freely. You have to be aware of how you're moving. Or the ground becomes muddy, and now, you know, you're slowed down. Something changes. You know, the flowers that were just pretty and out on the field that you didn't really pay attention to now spurt poisonous spores, and there are pockets of poison spores around, and you have to avoid them or run through them at your own risk. Layer actions, for all the things I complain about with 5e, and I complain a lot about 5e, whenever I get the chance, I will tell you about how their systems are better. I do think a layer action was an awesome idea for a mechanic, where they have a specific thing that changes the dynamic of the fight. That's actually pretty cool. I've been in and out, and I'm not sure if it's been mentioned, but having object besides defeat all the enemies, or an objective besides defeat all the enemies, can add a lot. Absolutely. If you could demoralize the enemies, cool. You know, route them, get them to run. If you can convince enemies to not fight, if you can pick something that makes the enemies more interested, if you're like, cool, what are their motivations and desires? Can you play into those? You know, if you are fighting somewhere and they're defending something, rather than trying to attack them, be like, they're more interested in protecting what's inside of, or what's on the other side of this door. So how can we get past this door? How can we get into where where the actual thing they're trying to protect is? Can you use that as a distraction? Be like, oh, well, we actually are here to kill the king. So bump all you all, we're going to go this way. And they're like, oh no, we got to protect the king. And then they run to barricade the door the king's in, but you just really did a thing to make them think that's where you were going, but really just wanted to raid the treasure room. So yeah, having alternative objectives to just defeat all the enemies, I think that's great. On that subject, knowing motivations, being able to play into those, having motivations for the enemies. What do they want? Are they monsters? Are they people? you know, what is it they're going for? Are they protecting their young? Are they hungry? Like, that can play into it. Last really stressful fight, our objective was to get item before they could use it and screw everyone over. Ooh, yeah, like that's a good one. Like, they got big crystal that'll shoot magic. Gotta stop them before it does. That was a fun fight I did, where there was a boss and a bunch of minions, and there was things coming out of the ground that were like, once they fully raised up, they would like shoot lightning into this other thing in the room, and the main villain seemed real happy about that, and we were like, okay, this is obviously building up to something. Do we stop these things? Do we only attack the main person who seems cool about this, so that if we kill them, then once this finishes, maybe it won't matter because this person can't use it? Should we try and beat up these things, like destroy the little lightning things, so before this whatever it is finishes? That's fun. That's dynamic. That's getting players to look at each other and go, what should we do? That's incorporating what they're going to do and making it more important. So yeah, that's an excellent, good point, good bring in, good idea, good thing you mentioned, Deebs. And also Discordia. Yeah, I love that. You gotta do something before it screws everyone over. It can also be like we were saying, emotional stakes. It could also be something that isn't going to directly affect you. Like, you gotta do this thing because if it finishes, it will harm a town far away that you care about, or someone you care about, or it'll change the weather and make it real rainy and you don't like that. Whatever it is in the game, it does not have to be when this thing is powered up, it will shoot a death ray and kill you instantly. That could be cool once, but if that's the thing every time... Also, death in RPGs, I feel like, is not always the best emotional stakes. I'm gonna get more water, and we're gonna talk more about combat, because I still gotta talk about super long combat. Because there's some examples of combat, I think that a lot of times, and we talked about this during the panel and afterwards, where it was like long combat can get boring and like ways to speed it up. But I want to talk about long combat because I've played games where combat lasted more than one session. A single combat encounter was like a session and a half, and there were specific things that made that awesome the whole time, and it took hours to complete. So we're gonna talk about that. Lawn combat. Yeah, lawn combat. Long combat. Extended combat. Hours of combat. But also lawn combat. 2 to 3 sessions. Wow, that is long. Okay, I'm gonna show some art. I'm actually gonna roll an ad. Because then people who pop in won't get an ad. And it's just art. What else are you gonna do? Except all the subscribers and the 5 people that got gift subbed by Jamate. Because that was cool. Last game would be... Oh, actually, I'll read that when I come back. Oh, yes, where are you? There you are. Whoop. All right. I'm back. All right, let me read. That was a big mercenary company. Ooh. Let's see what Deep said. In my last game, we would occasionally get NPC companions that joined us for a little bit, and we would always get extremely protective of them. So every fight had additional objective: protect our fragile NPC friend. That's good. I like that. Yeah, if you can have a good NPC escort, that can add a nice amount of tension. And yeah, that the players want to protect them rather than them just being there to be like, well, they are there. And again, that emotional stake. You like that NPC. Maybe they also give you a discount on magic items, who knows? But like, just liking them is a huge thing. So long combat. We talked a bunch about, and all this stuff I think comes into play for long combat. Just kind of, hey, work is work. If that's their job, good on them. So long combat. All these things have to do with, like, a lot of times kind of keeping. We talked some about keeping combat short, and I think all these apply to short combat, but also they definitely apply even more so to long combat. I get the feeling I missed a lot, but I'm seeing something about goons, one-hit enemies. Hey, insightful. I have been talking for about an hour, so yeah, I guess you have missed a lot. So we're talking about having, what it takes to keep combat interesting. Oh, hydrate. I've been drinking, but thanks. I'll stay hydrated. Okay. So emotional stakes can be kind of not lower. They're still really important. Oh boy. Hydrate. Also, I accept this bug meat, and I hope you too will accept this bug meat. So this is extra important. If you have 2 rounds of swing hit, like, and it's like, okay, it's kind of dull, but it's a couple rounds of combat, whatever. It's not that bad. And you have small emotional stakes. It's a person you don't like and you want to see them get beat. All right, cool. 2 rounds of combat, not too bad. Not the most amazing, but hey, sometimes how it go. But when you got a long fight, when you got a warehouse that you're trying to raid redemption style, go up every floor fighting people, when you got a villain lair to bust into, when you got a siege on a village you like, when you get boarded by an enemy ship, or you get boarded by the enemies who are on a ship, the ship isn't boarding, or maybe it's robot enemies and they have a ship that's going to board your ship with more tiny ships. Whatever, I don't know how your game works. And you want long extended combat, you gotta use like all these rules to make that fun for hours of play. I think the biggest one of this would be, what are the implications of what you're doing? How can players actually see what they're doing matters. I gotta write that down. That's freaking huge. Long combats. No, we're gonna add that space there. Why doesn't it like matter? Oh, because it wants a question mark. Okay, so like, if you have 10,000 enemies and you have emotional stakes in those 10,000 enemies going down, that's cool and that's very helpful, and I would say that's needed. But like, so what? So you kill an enemy, cool. Now you have 9,999 enemies. What's changed? You just gonna go through that 10,000, like 9,999 more times? That's gonna get dull super fast. Maybe if you have 10k enemies, maybe the problem is you. If 10,000 people want you dead, maybe you did something wrong. Long combat. Hey, we'll just add it. Long combat. So like, you killed an enemy. You killed 2 enemies. You killed 3 enemies. What's changed? You gotta show some changes for players, and for your own sanity as a GM. Like, you're telling a story. How many pages do you want to flip through in a book that says, and they fought, and here's how they fought? She raised her axe and split the evil man's head in twine, and then she raised her axe and cut other evil man in half. Like, how long do you want that going? You want to see some changing. Imagine people fighting with lawn darts. What a good weapon. Entwine. 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 Yeah, I probably said entwine. 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 But like, they wrapped them literally in twine, and that killed them. So they killed them in twine. They wrapped twine around him, and pulled real tight, and it ripped him in half. It ripped him in twine. Twine. Neither is. I usually don't use that phrase, and so it makes it that much easier to mess it up. Twine axe turns people into art supplies. Oh, I love that. Awound them, yes, because you wind them up in twine, so it's awound them now because you've wound them up. Yeah, that was the correct word, not me messing up English because I have an awkward mouth. So, seeing how long do you want to see, do you want to read about? And she cut them in twine, page after page. You gotta see what is changing. So, cut a bunch of people, cool. Well, they were fighting, the enemies were fighting in a hoplite, and it wasn't working. So what are they doing now? Turns out they're goopy, and they all merge together and form one giant enemy. Cool. I don't know what you're fighting. That could be a thing. Now that you've lowered their numbers, they all Voltron together. You've killed, let's say there's not 10,000 enemies. Like Phalanx from Demon Souls? Yeah, could be like Phalanx from Demon Souls. All I want to see is you turn into a giant. I'm assuming that's a reference to something that I don't know. Although it does make me think of... I don't know what that is, but it makes me think of Dr. Psycho from... Oh, that is a Steven Universe reference. You're correct. I forgot. It made me think of Dr. Psycho from the Harley Quinn show, which is a brilliant show. That show is hilarious. Dr. Psycho is into giant women. Not a spoiler. All right, what am I doing? Lawn combat, yep. Players see what they're doing matters. Okay, so like, what changes? How does your killing people change combat? Especially, I like to think of it kind of like a gauntlet where you have a set of stages. That's how I think about what I'm building it in as a GM. So like, I have a stupid amount of enemies. The initial thing is, oh my gosh, 10,000 enemies. How are we going to get through them? So you have, boom. That's the problem. There's so many enemies. Couple rounds pass. All right, we've made a change. We've made some progress. What's changed? You've routed some enemies away. Okay. Enemies are now fighting in like small pockets, trying to, rather than fighting as a wall, they're moving to surround. They're using their numbers to surround each character, each player character. And now they've got flanking on them. And they're like basically just trying to create little pockets around each character. Cool. New way to fight. Everybody's surrounded. How are you going to deal with that? Some players, they'll teleport out. Some will fight their way out. Some will be like, that's fine, I don't mind being surrounded. Whirlwind attack, whatever. Changes it. Now there's even less enemies. Few rounds of that. Cool. Now, those enemies that ran away, they were just getting their mounts. Cavalry charge. Come in riding alligators. I don't know, whatever they're riding. They're snapping at you. They're moving through. Some of them doing a trample. Some of them stopping to snap at you. Enemies should react unless they're lacking a sense of self-preservation. Absolutely. Some enemies can get disheartened. So, like, build that in. Some get disheartened and run. And it's like, oh, sweet, we've cut the enemies left in half. But then someone gives a rousing speech. That one of the enemies gives a rousing speech. And now the enemies that haven't left are bolstered. They're going to be even tougher now. So now you have less enemies, but they're in a tougher spot. Or they're tougher to fight. They ride balls of twine. And like, yeah, just freaking like a log roll kind of thing, and they just run you over. Saw a screen grab from one of the later Yu-Gi-Oh animes, and there was a guy wearing an alligator on his back. Alligator cavalry is great. I love, because they have a low center of gravity. You can't like tip them over. Alligator got big mouth, it can bite you. Alligator got big tail, it can swipe you. Alligators also can run like 30 miles an hour or something. How fast can alligators run? Hang on, I gotta look this up. Or is it crocodiles? How fast can crocodiles run? They run in straight lines really fast. 15 to 22 miles an hour for crocodile. What about alligator? So a crocodile can outrun me on a bad day. They can outrun me. Alligator, Looks like it's around 11. So not quite as fast. Still probably outrun me. I don't know how fast I can run. So like, cool. That's another thematic thing that you can use. Alligator, crocodile infantry. They run fast in a straight line. But only in a straight line. Can't maneuver very well. Can players use that to their advantage? The people on the enemies on the alligators would know this and would purposefully try to use tactics. Why is that not showing up on Restream? That's weird. Let me move this. Restream's being weird and bugging out on me. Sorry. So now you have your infantry, and then you have your bolstered enemies, and then you have enemies, bolstered enemies. After that, they start running away. They chase them. They chase them into another part of the area, which has a set of traps set up. So it was all a ruse. They wanted them to follow them. Ha ha ha. And now they've cornered them, and fire is behind the players, and now the enemies that were running stop, turn around, and now they have them pinned between them and a wall of fire, or whatever. Changing things up is what's happening there. Every X number of rounds, something is changing. Like I said, 2 to 3, really good. And if players do especially well, you can play that into the thematics of the situation. Or if they're doing bad, play it into thematics. Like, they bolster because they were going to do that anyway, or maybe they were going to do that in like a couple rounds. That was a later thing. But because players rolled really low, be like, now's my chance. I'll use the bolster on this round instead of a later round, and then switch what I was going to do now later. And now they're like, haha, look at these weaklings. Let's get them. I also, different types of enemies, so what they're doing, tactics they're using. Showing a reward. If I'm burning high level spells or like really risking it for a cool move, I do want to see, as a player, I want to see some sort of like reward for that. That, you know, if I want to get someone's attention, I slice through somebody and look someone else in the eye and be like, and I want to challenge them. Like, I want them to be like, oh, all right, I'll get this one. Or I want to scare them and they're like, oh shoot, freaking out. Like, give players that reward. All right, what'd Lampy say? Yeah, it's not showing up on Restream. Weird. Okay, let me check my Twitch chat. I think I only missed a few messages. Serpentine. Serpentine motions. That one video of the giant alligator on Florida golf course. Oh, I love that big alligator. Have you seen Pocho? The video of Pocho, the like nearly 17-foot long crocodile that this dude adopted because it was wounded. Is that a bird? It's a bird. It was wounded and it walked up to this guy. I think it had a gunshot wound or something. And the guy nursed it back to health and then released it. And the crocodile kept coming back and ended up like hanging out with this dude, being real chill. And then dude raised the alligator or crocodile and it grew to be nearly 17 feet long. And he did a doggone water show with it. He'd swim around with it, like ride on it. And he did a show with this crocodile, and his name was Pocho. And it was a big old croc. He was a thick boy. You mentioned giant crocodiles, so I had to bring up Pocho. It's real sweet. It's like adorable watching them interact. Jesse, you know today is 29th anniversary of Kirby's Adventure. Is it? Oh man, that's awesome. Freaking love Kirby. So stoked. Want to play that new Kirby game. It's not out yet. Comes out soon. Does it come out today? Comes out real soon, if not today. So the GM having dynamic events that can be slotted into combat at appropriate times, preferably interchangeable. Yes, Nick. That same idea of like stuff you could slot into different positions, like having ideas that can be moved around, is pretty much how I try to approach most things as a GM. Whether it's, you know, information the players need, rather than it being a block of text that I need to get across them, divide it into individual sentences or individual events, and be able to move them around and slot them where I need to. And then if they go somewhere unexpected, I can still have them move the story forward the ways I need them to, while incorporating the things that they want to do and the ideas they had. So yes. Hey Tonal, how are you doing? Serpentine Babu. This is how you get Lake Placid. I haven't seen Lake Placid. Discordia. Is the croc friendly with somebody in that? 2 more days till Kirby. Sweet. 25th? Oh man. So great. Mad Kirby hype. Is anybody posting on... Okay, good. No one's posting on YouTube. Because the restream's not working, so I'm having to look at the actual Twitch chat. A very large croc, which someone raised. Aw, adorable. But yeah, look up Pocho. Hang on, I gotta find this. It's very important to me that you know Pocho. Unfortunately, Pocho is no longer around. I think this is a video. Cool. I don't know if this is the right video. But this is a video of swimming with Pocho. There we go. Not adorable. It kills everyone. It's the size of a limo. Oh, well. Is it Betty White in Lake Placid? Am I remembering that correctly? $38, 20 minutes left. She was the real villain. Oh, that's funny. That makes me really want to watch Lake Placid now. I think that's the main stuff I had to go over. Thematics, emotional stakes. Make sure it's dynamic. Something needs to change every 2 or 3 rounds. Rule of cool. Fudge for fun. FFF. Fudge for fun and function. I forget what the 3F stood for. Having different types of enemies. Don't be an HP sponge. Just for me personally, don't make HP sponges. It's one of those films you can put on in the background and not think too much to watch. That's what it looked like. It looked like a dumb but also kind of fun movie. Like, yeah, I want to watch it. Okay, that's pretty much all my notes that I wanted to go over. Goopy monster, talked about that. Impact of a fight, probably one of the most important things. Make actions matter. That's huge. I'm curious if anyone has any like direct questions or like any suggestions, any thoughts about combat, or like things that you think about combat. Yeah, Restream chat just stopped working. The last thing I have on Restream is Insightful talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! So, yeah, because you can see it's not refreshing. It does it every once in a while. I don't know why. Can I... Is there a refresh button? Nope. Nope. I don't have like a refresh in the settings. Yeah, appearance. Sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't. Insightful says, well, I was feeling fairly confident about the dungeon haunted mansion I was going to throw out my players into the next few weeks. But now it's just shaking my confidence. Oh no! What my goal is to make you feel more confident about doing long battles and like combat by adding these elements. So what can I do to bolster your confidence with this? Because that's the opposite of what I want. Insightful. I want you to feel good about it and be like, yeah, now I can really show my players something cool. Just be wary that players will thwart your plans, summoning a herd of cows underground. Look, a chicken costs 2 copper. You buy all the chickens. You dump them at the beginning of the dungeon. You shoo those bad boys in there. You have a much better time. I think disabling and re-enabling the source in OBS causes refresh. Okay, let me try that. Make enemies hit harder is the opposite of HP sponge. Yeah, make enemies hit harder, last shorter. Generally. There's exceptions to every rule, but generally. I just remember the time my friend first round of combat ended our one shot. Boss rage charge. One shot someone. Dang, got one shotted. Rough. It's just my own lack of self-confidence factor more than anything else. Well, I'll still try and help with that. Honestly, like, one of the best ways to have players have fun is to have fun yourself. Like, if you're really getting into it and having fun and letting loose, the players in turn will usually get into it, let loose, and have more fun. And it becomes this beautiful feedback loop. So just go a little ham. Or a lot ham. And ham it up. There's a time loop over the whole haunted mansion. Ooh, oh, I like the sound of this already. As the players move through, they will start to clear things and figure out there's a time loop. And if they full clear before the final boss, they get a bonus level. Not going to tell them that. Oh, that's such a cool idea. All right, let me... Restream chat. See if I can posture check. I doubt it, but whoops if so. Disabling and enabling it. All right, let me see if I can disable and enable. I can disappear. There's Twitch chat hiding. Why you gotta do this to me? I can remove it. I can't like disable it though. I can only remove it, and then I'd have to bring it back in, and I'd have to reset everything because it'll change the dimensions. Ugh. Accept bug meat. I accept this bug meat. I hope you too, Luis. Accept this bug meat. There are like 20 people in this stream, so I don't think any of them are your players. So you're safe. I bet you're safe. Not popular enough to be worried about that yet. What's the bonus level? I am curious. Oh! There we go. Restream's working again. Got these 3 mini bosses. One of them is in a room that has ghosts on that shoot blinding beam if they don't get out of the way. Ooh, clearly telegraphed. Nice. I wouldn't be too worried. This sounds really fun, insightful. It sounds like a really cool idea. Don't know what you're talking about, Jesse. I'm a player for life. Better recognize. I was on lunch meeting. What are we dealing with today? Well, we're almost done, but we're dealing with combat. All about combat and making it not boring. That's today's topic. Also, Insightful made a haunted mansion in a time loop for his players, and that sounds freaking sweet. Like, really rad, really awesome. Love that idea so much. And I went over all my notes, so now I'm just hearing what everybody else has to say about combat. Grizzly aging is kind of a ladder mini boss. Hit with attack drains stats on a failed save. Ouch. Yeah, do they become part of the events? Do they repeat the dungeon? What happens if they fail? Discordia asking the good questions. Also very curious. Also, anybody wants to chime in with things that as a player you really appreciate in combat, or as a GM you try to implement in combat to make it more fun. We got ripped in twine, we got a wound, we got implement. It's a good day for speaking for sure. They start back at the beginning of the loop, but I'm being nice and letting the enemies stay dead. Oh, oh no, that means they could die in the time loop too then. Ooh. I appreciate stakes, make it matter through consequences. Absolutely. Stakes, I feel like, are incredibly important. Like, I feel like one of the, probably the biggest problem with combat is no emotional stakes. And that you're walking, giant monster appear, you fight giant monster. Like, oh no, it might eat us. Like, there needs to be, there doesn't have to be, but it absolutely helps when there's a reason for you to care about the outcome of this fight and the what's going to happen, the both the grand outcome and the nuanced individual things that are going to happen in the fight. If they die or get a permanent stat debuff, like going blind from the mini bosses. They reset at the beginning. Oh, okay. Implement. A mate that helps you implement things. Yeah, that's an implement. With a nice sauce. Yeah, nice mustard sauce. Steaks are great with a nice mustard sauce. The golden steak sauce, I think it's called. I also really like mustard, so maybe we should rate the steaks if something goes really wrong. If something goes really wrong with them, aside from just narrative stakes and being stuck in a time loop. I've cared about combat in my game all of 3 times. Twice one character was on the verge of getting their brain nommed by an illithid or parasite. The other time was about preventing an existential invasion. Oh, extra dimensional invasion by stealing back an object before it could be used. Ooh, those do sound like pretty good stakes. Only 3 times. How many fights do you have? That seems low, but it also might be because you play a game that doesn't have a lot of combat, which in that case, 3 times is fine. Have you tried the nice berries? I don't know that word with a steak. I don't know if I've tried that because I'm not sure what that is. But I'd try it. Probably. Unless you're like, that's French for poop. And then I'd be like, no, I'm not going to try that with my steak. A lot, it's mostly just, oh no, people are attacking us. I'll hover at range and pick them off. Oh man. Bernays? Okay, Bernays. I know that word. Don't know what it means. Sauce made of butter, emulsified egg yolks, and white wine vinegar, and flavored with herbs. It sounds good. I don't know if I've had that on a steak, but it sounds delicious. My strategy is damage avoidant. Yeah. Avoid damage. Good call. I'm curious, do you feel like it are you okay with a lot of combat and not a lot of stakes in it? Do you feel like that's fine? Do you feel like it's okay but it could be better? Or do you feel like it drags the game down because it doesn't have stakes? I am curious about your personal opinion on that. There are stakes, but they don't feel personal. I would say if there are stakes, but they don't feel personal, then they're not really stakes. Like, technically there are always stakes, but if you don't care, then it doesn't matter if they're there or not. They have to be personal for them to matter. To me, combat is never why I play an RPG. I always like for the story. Bad things will happen, but it won't really affect you. Yeah, Blight, I agree that combat is pretty much never why I play an RPG. I think just like any other narrative element, it can be used to serve the narrative. And just like any other narrative element, if it's used improperly, it's just there and it kind of fills time. Always makes my stakes personal. Last one was named Gregory. Gregory got what he deserved. Sloppy steaks. Sloppy food is best food. Doesn't matter what it is. The sloppier it is, the better. All food is better sloppy. Ground beef, pretty good. Chili? Chili burger, even sloppier. Best kind of burger. That being said, I always appreciate GM who allows thinking outside the box. Versions of combat strategy, perhaps game that hasn't been set up rules for. They said no more sloppy steaks. They can't stop you from ordering a steak and a glass of water. Yeah, I also appreciate thinking outside the box. I want to be able to do more than just attack, and I want players to feel rewarded for doing more than just attacking. And that if they just attack, that there should be some reward in that too. Everything has consequences. Walking across the room has consequence of being over there now. Yeah, it's technically a consequence, but if you're not invested in it, then what does it matter? Love a burger with chili on it. Oh yeah, chili and slaw. That Carolina burger. Oh, can't confirm sloppy pizza is best pizza. Heck yeah, it is. Also, hi Valhalla. Making those consequences matter is the point. Yeah, exactly. I know what sloppy joes are, but what are regular joes? Isn't that just coffee? Yeah, this regular joe is coffee. Sloppy joe is some sort of weird sloppy burger. I like that Pathfinder game we played where my strategy to get rid of a bunch of rats was just use shock and grasp, then stage dive on them. Yeah. I think that's a great strategy. I also read that as shock and grasp because I knew the scenario Blight was talking about, and I didn't even notice that it does say shock and grass until you mentioned that, Discordia. But I like shock and grass. That should be a very good spell. Yeah. A neat Joe cough. That's just black coffee. I'll have a cup of Joe. Neat. Yep. There shouldn't be a patch of grass there. How shocking. Voice to speech didn't like that word. Some sort of dangerous element to voice to text. Yeah, it's like you have a bunch of like just grass kind of floating, and if you walk through it, you get shocked. I love it. I think that's a great idea. I am a big fan of this. Is there shocking grass in Elden Ring? I haven't found it yet. I found a freaking swamp that gives me scarlet rot, and another swamp that gives me just regular toxic whatever poison. Who doesn't want to hit 1,000 home runs? Oh, that's great. Maybe the security grass from Aeon Flux. I have not seen Aeon Flux. It's lightning crafting mat that grows in an area. Being struck by lightning sporadically. Oh, that's cool. I did in Elden Ring find a guy who was on a tower just freaking shooting lightning at me from like 1,000 feet away. It was just like a stream of lightning that followed me. And then I tried to stop him and I couldn't get to the top of the tower, and then I found a teleporter and it teleported me somewhere, and then I died, and then I tried to go back and then I died, so I lost all my souls. And it was sad. All right, it is 2, so I'm gonna stop now. Oh, it's a film. So you never. It'll ensure you never want to wear dangle earrings. Oh, I'm so excited. I haven't seen the film or the show that it's based on, I should say. And Charlize Theron is in the movie, right? She's the main character. So the guy Gatling gun in Old Yardum. And then I died and lost all my souls. 99% of soul stories. Yeah, it's exactly how it is. Like, I lost stuff. Big sad. It's 2 o'clock, so I'm gonna leave now. Thank you everybody for hanging out, talking about combat with me. I hope you learned something insightful. I hope you have a great game and feel confident. I hope everybody else feels good too. I hope I encouraged Jamaid enough to run another game. And I hope everybody like learned and had fun. It's nice to be able to chat and like, you know, talk about RPGs. There's even more people here. I'm really surprised. There's like currently 21 people in here. That's awesome. This is one of the streams that I was most worried about doing, because it's like a little more personal and it requires more than just I'll play a game and make a haha joke. Sweet. I really wasn't sure if there would be any overlap with people who are already here, if the timing would work out, if I could find people who are interested elsewhere. So it's really cool to see people in here. I honestly hope it continues to grow. That's my plan, obviously. I'd say Jay should run a game for us in the Discord. I don't know if find time. It's crazy busy. I mean, I'd definitely play in Jay's Discord game, but that's on Jay. But that would be pretty fun. All right, I think I'm gonna raid Mandari because, you know, world building. I still want to run that race image. Have figure out a time. Oh, I'm assuming you meant Wraith game and not some sort of race game like Death Race or NASCAR. Yeah, for what you've said, NASCAR RPG, let's go. Yeah, for what you've said about Wraith and how much I enjoy all the other World of Darkness games I've played, I absolutely want to try it. I think that would be really fun. Because, yeah, should be cool. Roll to turn left, Nat 1, you turn right. You turn left so hard, you end up doing a spin and turning right. That's what happened. All right, I think this is set to raid. It'll hopefully raid this time. Raiding V yesterday did not work for some reason the first time. Maybe I hit the wrong button or something. All right, thank you everybody. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks again, Jamaid, for the gift subs. That was super cool. Thanks everybody. I'm just so happy people are here. Y'all have a good one. See you tomorrow.